good, fam? I remember when I was younger and I used to watch TV a little more often. I remember this series called Prison Break. And Michael Scofield put himself strategically in prison so that he could free his brother who had been wrongfully convicted and imprisoned from prison. And that's what the truth allows for us to do. The truth allows for us to escape peacefully the fields that we perished in ignorantly. The new way comes with no cuffs, no chains, no walls, no wardens. The old way, we inflicted all of these cruel and harsh punishments on ourselves. We didn't even need anybody else's help to lock us away in a dark space where others couldn't support us, couldn't see us clearly, couldn't talk to us when they wanted to. And the worst thing about our prison is, just like Michael Scofield, we put ourselves there intentionally, not knowing what it would include when we got there, being totally met with obstacles and hardships that we couldn't plan for, and eventually getting so wrapped up in the alternate experience that we lost sight of ourselves in reality. If you've seen the show a couple seasons in before it got dumb, then you know what I'm talking about. At some point, Michael Scofield developed the mentality of a prisoner, when before he was just a strategic businessman who had a heart to save his brother. So going in equipped with knowledge, we can not only free ourselves from prison, we can go in and free others from prison. But not in a weird way. No longer are we the blood sacrifice of the people around us who do not want to grow and develop, learn a new way, unlearn the old way, and progress in peace and live through the paradise on the inside. We are not fighting with anyone who is not calling for the lessons of the teacher on the inside to be brought to fruition and awareness within their lives. We are not losing our peace and losing sleep and emotionally being affected and going through the dysfunction of trying to make someone see something that is not real to them in the moment. You still stuck in the past. Anything out of me going into the past with you and enforcing and enhancing your partnership with illusional pictures that are still being entertained on the inside of your head. If I allow for you to come over and make them real to me, then that's just going to convince you that what you see in your head before you share it comes from another place and it has value and it's real. I'm not reinforcing foolishness. I'm not reinforcing your social dysfunction. I'm not reinforcing your insecurity. I'm not reinforcing your hyper imagination. It is kind of tough to know when you are carting yourself into prison sometimes, because we are so carnal minded. We are so physically driven. We operate by what we can see with our eyes. And the prison sentences are connected to the paradigms that we carry and develop that lead us to have the illusionary reactions and harbor the secondary consequence thoughts, or the barrage of thoughts connected to our original desire or our original confusion. So if I get it in my head that I'm unlikable, my imaginations don't stop there as I leave the house the next day and I encounter people in different settings. Because of my original idea that I infected myself with in error, that I am unlikable, as I go to each place throughout my day, I find evidence of the original idea that I carry inside of myself. So now I'm inside of me, observing you, observe me, with distaste that I interpret based off of your actions that we never talk about. So when you were on aisle 3 and I was passing in the main aisle, and you looked over at me for 1 second and you cut your eyes, and I thought that you did it because I was a black man with hair standing up on top of my head, and you don't like those. And you only saw out of your peripheral a flash of something, so your attention went back to the can of beans that you were trying to select for your family, with no thought of me who just passed by, even though you saw me with your eyes. And then I projected all of my inner confusion and inner chaos onto you. And that's what we do day in and day out, which is why it's so important that you heal and reconcile with the inside of yourself. It's important that you stop worrying about how they see you and you decide for yourself what is true for you. Because you're going to hear a lot of conflicting, compromised opinions of who you are based on the expectation of what you are to deliver inside of the interaction with the insecure people that are still being awakened. You cannot let them define you. Do you not remember how bad of a job you did defining you when you were in the darkness and ignorant? Do you remember in your first trip around the block how you easily misidentified yourself, how you watched your actions and judged and critiqued every little thing and always felt like you still had more room to grow and further to go? You were always scribing. You were never there. You set markers, you set goals, and then you reached them, and you were so distracted about the new inconsistencies that you found along the way that you had a whole nother goal to meet, and it was further than the last one. So you couldn't even celebrate arriving at the imagined place that you thought would save your life and take you to ultimate grace. You couldn't even have the celebration that you imagined the world would participate with you in, and everybody would stand up and cheer for you. Because you're never done. The ego always gives you something new to do, something new to focus on, so that you can stay distracted from reality and in the present moment where you can make changes. For real, for real. If you're constantly distracted with imaginary issues and you're constantly holding in your hands the tangible results of the imaginary plans to overthrow the imaginary oppositions and to reach the imaginary finish lines, then you will constantly find yourself ineffective when it comes to altering reality per your design. The easy way. I go in and I see, and when I see with the single eye of truth, I know that what I'm looking at is mine because it belongs to my Father, and my Father's heart is towards his Son. And if the Father loves the Son, anything that's the Father's is the Son's. The book says that you have not because you ask not, and when you ask amiss. But you go to church, and in church they tell you that the things that you ask for that you don't have because the good Father withheld from you because it would have destroyed you. You talking about the same good Father that made you indestructible? You talking about the same good Father who you're in the lineage of that's indestructible? So by DNA, you would have to be, by design, you would have to be indestructible as well. You talking about your eternal Father who knows that only goodness flows to you, and you and your ignorance are the only hindrance that you have to concern yourself with? You talking about that Father? You talking about the Father who made his home on the inside of me? Are you talking about that Father? Are you talking about the one who sent one to say that the kingdom of heaven was within? So where did we get this picture that after death we would stand before a gate and be thrown in a pit or lifted into a cloud of paradise where gold and construction lies? What's crazy is I still remember the first time I heard about heaven in church. I remember when the church people told me that heaven was a place that we would go in the afterlife, where there would be singing and worshiping and praise of God endlessly. And I remember being a kid waiting for 1 o'clock to hit in the 11 o'clock service and thinking, man, this is a lot of work to put in to end up in the sky having church endlessly. Like, it didn't really sound fun. It didn't. It more appeals to the people in the podium. They get the attention at church for boasting a connection that the congregation can't have, but can. They say that they can, but they're never finished listening to the instructions from the guy in the pulpit of how to acquire such a connection freely with an unconditional Father who purposed for them to be a witness of his power, but then set it all up after saying, do not follow those who say the kingdom is here or there, but set it all up for the man of God, the pastor, to assign and align those in truth and fulfillment of their purpose. We're oftentimes filled with memories of previous moments that we lean on as our own understanding to help us define the present moment, rather than trust the inner guidance and the whisper within. You've been talking to yourself in your imagination. You've been allowing your imagination to flash before you and trying to interpret with your perception what it is that you are looking at based on your experiences from the past, rather than trust the all-knowing source on the inside of you. You've been leaning to your own understanding of the past where there is no understanding at all, trying to gain and develop all understanding in hopes that you can take yourself to heaven, a place that you go that's paradise after you die. Heaven, the kingdom, is within. Paradise is within. Happiness is within. Your definitions, your associations, your misinterpretations, your miscalculations, the things that you were convinced that you know. And if you be honest, some of the things that you're convinced that you know, you've never researched a day in your life. Some of the things that you're convinced you know came straight from movies. Some of the things that you think you know came straight from cartoons when you was a kid. A lot of the things that you know came from your mama house or your grandma house or whoever raised you. Many of the superstitions that you have, that you hold as fact and truth, you developed in your early childhood strictly by watching somebody else do it and misinterpreting the value that it had when they executed it. You listen to people based on their finances. Somebody will give you sound advice, sound counsel on something that they have researched and know the analytics of. And if you don't see the life that you're chasing in the person that's speaking, you have no ability to disconnect from the messenger and receive the message and apply it to your life with confidence that it will lead you to the expected outcome. It takes somebody rich. It takes somebody who has what you see as success to say something for you to bite on it, chase it, and follow it. You don't even listen to you. And you wonder why you're so conflicted on the inside. You catch yourself wondering sometimes when you're conscious in moments of silence, which isn't long because you dodge those, in the prison, how you ever built the prison for yourself, how you ever landed yourself in prison. To be honest, it takes years for you to come to the conclusion that this is something that you did to yourself. One of the most bizarre things about the internal prisons that we suffer from by making ourselves inmates is it's not like the physical prisons that we're familiar with when we watch trials and incarcerations. The internal prisons, because they imprison our ego and the illusionary versions of ourselves that we carry on the inside and give life to by the belief in their existence, we can find ourselves inmates in thousands of internal prisons, serving concurrent sentences, split and divided on a host of cell blocks, each of which has its own set of bunkies, each which has its own route of escape. And you, as a student, you as one returning to original form, you as a recovering God, you as a recovering goddess, it is your responsibility to learn the route and execute the plan. Not the plan that you come up with, not the way that you think gonna work, not just dealing with your dysfunction, just doing your little time, staying down, staying out the way, not clicking up with one of the gangs so that you can bang on the yard and you can find yourself functionally dysfunctional. Nah, the route, there was an escape route that the truth provides in each and every situation we find ourselves locked inside of. Every stronghold comes with a release button. Every stronghold is nothing but your decision to keep a tight grip on something that is not serving you or that is not in alignment with your identity. You have been released, but it's up to you to take that walk out the door. I understand that it's scary. I understand you ain't been outside in a while. I understand all you know is the block. I understand all you know is the cell. I understand all you know is the nasty child that's in the child hall. I understand. I get it. But you've been complaining about it the whole time. You've been dreaming about better the whole time. You've been saying that you want to be free and liberated the whole time. And I'm telling you, in truth, you've been free the whole time. You've been volunteering to stay locked and confined inside of something that is torturous. You've traded glory for a dark abyss of misery. And you do it daily because every day you wake up, you're given another opportunity to walk in your freedom. You need to know what prisons you find yourself in so that you can discover the divine route of exit. And once you're on the outside, you won't be so ignorant of what's on the outside that you fear it and want to stay within something that doesn't even suit your makeup. Once you're outside of the prison and you're liberated and you're walking in freedom, you can embrace the feeling that comes with partnering with what you were made for.